Hi.
Hi, Riley. Welcome back.
Thanks.
It's just you and I today because now Ava had to miss class. All my students are missing class the last week. It's not just you all. It's that time of year. Everyone's really busy. So we are in the middle of, well, not in the middle. We are at the end of designing our collections. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today, and then today is again going to be a work day so that you can have time, dedicated time to working on your collection to finish it for your final presentation next week. So let's talk about your presentations. You are going to be presenting to me your collections, which means you need to be able to talk about them with words to describe the items that you have designed. So the things that I'm hoping you can talk about are um, first, show your mood board. I'm going to talk about your color story, whether you have names for your colors. You can talk about those and the key details, right, that we have chosen for our collections. And then once you get to showing the bodies, then being able to use the language that we've learned in this class to describe it. So this garment has a V neckline with an off the shoulder or whatever, and the hemline is that, like those kind of words to describe, or even the fabrications. Is it a woven or is it a knit is always a helpful thing. The thing I'm going to talk about a little bit today so that I have something to present to you to just give you some food for thought as your instructor is to talk about the editing process because the thing that most designers don't know, or if you or most, let's say most people don't know about fashion design, is that um, it requires a lot of editing and a lot of reworking. And so it's a natural part of the process. So whatever the end result is, whether your end result is a fashion show or your end result is the collection that you're showing to the buyers to buy, whatever the end result is, there's a lot of changes along the way to get to that point because um, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for a company, as I did, there are other people that are going to weigh in on your decision making. And those other people are usually the merchandiser who keeps their ear to what's going on the buying floors, or what, the customers. They intimately know the customer. And then the other thing that always changes things is the actual ability to produce on time. So sometimes you change decisions based on, oh, I can't get that we can't change the color on this because we can't get it in time for our delivery. So you're always thinking about the calendar and that the timeline of being able to deliver something. And sometimes that means you move things around or you make decisions based on that. So there's kind of these two outside things that are always and of course costs is always part of it. So I'm going to show some examples. I wish I had more. Unfortunately, from my swim career, I usually only had the final CAD that, like I took some work with me as like, what I had done over my career. But I didn't take all the iterations. There could have been like 20 iterations of a CAD. I really only have the final one. But I do have one of the last examples that I did for a group. I'm sorry, for a brand called Isabella Rose. So I'm going to share a little bit of that because it's going to kind of show you a little bit of what I'm talking about and as part of the process. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so here is my mood board. I think I've shared this before. This one was called Just Say Zen. The brand is Isabella Rose. The color story is down here. I have my inspiration print based on this pillow that I loved. I love the colors of this pillow. This was my jumping off point for the entire board. Like this is the thing that started this collection. And I loved that pillow so much that I wanted to build something around those colors. So that's how I started with coral. chartreuse and white. And then I found other things that interested me to build around this, to build in other colors. So I thought yellow would look nice with this. Again, my key details were baby knots, lace ups, puckered texture. So this texture is actually called Hansa, cabana stripes, and well, those were the details. So that was Just Say Zen. And this was a certain delivery. I don't recall what delivery this was. For swimwear, it's one big long season. So I did not work in a traditional sense that most sportswear people, they're either working a fall, winter, holiday, spring, summer, they have specific kind of seasons based on actually the weather and what's going on outside. But because swimwear is one big long season and we just chase the sun around the world, we do everything by delivery. So this was probably, I don't know, looking at the white, which is always a high summer color, it's probably a May 30 delivery to be in stores June 1st. So looking at this, let me see if I can do this in order. We'll see if I can. Okay. So what happened is I showed two mood boards for this delivery, and I'm going to shuffle through here because I don't remember the name of my other mood board. Let's see. I'll just start here. Here it is. This was the other mood board that I presented for the same delivery. So I have two kind of groups going on. One is based off that color story of green, coral, and white. And so that was probably a May 30th delivery. This could have been a June 30th delivery. So the next month this would come onto the floor at the stores, and this was called Dive In. So Dive In, I was inspired by this dress in particular with these watercolors, big paint watercolor splashes on white. I love this gal here. I had this particular picture on my cork board for at least a year before I attempted to put it into the collection. But I also, again, love these like watercolor random stripes. It just looks like it's made with a paintbrush and very painterly. And it also kind of tied into the summer feeling of sailboats and regatta and those ships. So that was these are my inspiration pictures. So I had a print developed in a water to look like a watercolor stripe. I had an artist develop that for me. And then the other thing I liked is this dress over here, all these floral, instead of color blocking, they print blocked, which is really busy, but I tend to think it's really fun. So I included that as my inspiration. And so I had another print designed to look like a color block. It's actually designed in a stripe with lots of florals on it. You can see the details here, primary palette, all white floral block, but I have these strappy details attached to this skinny string. So that's kind of the important part. You can see the back of the swimsuit here is my inspiration. This was someone else's swimsuit, but I really like this back and I wanted to include something like that. So what happened is I presented both of these at the same time to my merchandiser and actually the CEO of the company, who is always part of my meetings, and they switched everything around. Because that's what they do at meetings. They get their 2 cents in and then everything changes. So what happened is this is my CAD. So you can see these colors came off my regatta board, my dive in board, but the lace ups came off of my Zen board. So they switched it around. I originally showed these in green and blue, and they said, no, let's put it over there on the other. So yeah, so this is very typical. So this got moved over here into this, and this got moved again. So in the end, the only garment, actually all 3 of these garments lived, but it will change color, and I'll show you that in a moment. So this right now is tying into the regatta board. This comes from the Zen board. So this is what I presented. I think this is actually the final CAD. I had some different bodies on here, but those got changed. So, so every little group, every little mini group within the collection has its own assortment of pieces. So they call this an assortment. The pieces that go together within that little group. There's the board again. Okay, so here is the strappy detail that was on the regatta, the dive-in board that got switched to the other side. So now this one is in blue and green. And it has kind of my own version of that back. So I took that back and I made my version of it, which is one of those things that I like to do as a designer. I did not like to copy people exactly. I like to use things as an inspiration and then change them enough to where it felt like my own voice. So that's something that was important to me. Okay, so there are the pictures of the cats. I have to stop share here for a minute because I realized I didn't open the photographs, which is the part that's missing here, of what actually went to the stores, which is different than what we're looking at right now. So let me go grab those. I just need a second here. See if I can find this quickly. Let's see, that is Isabella Rose. As you can imagine, my swimwear folder is kind of deep, so it might take me a second here. Oh, it's loading kind of slow. Okay. Well, I'll go get that in a minute. Let me go back to sharing my screen here of the other thing I'll show you. And then what I'll do, instead of having you wait for me to look for things, I will give you a little moment to start working on your edits or your changes, and then I will bump in and interrupt you and show you. But let's go back to the other things I was going to share today, which is I have one other example. So let's see. Okay, so this is a different brand. This is called Soluna, and this is a group that comes in 3 colors, and it was a Lurex solid fabric, which means it has a little metallic thread in it. And this was one of my CADs. This was one of the versions of my CADs that I had shown to my bosses, the merchandiser and the CEO. And let's see, this one piece survived. And I think this top and bottom survived. So we have the actual picture of what we shot. Oh yeah, it actually changed. It changed into a, the only thing that survived from that CAD was this one piece and this tie head pant. So literally they whatever, they get their hands involved. They're like, oh, halters are doing really well. So are keyholes. We need to have a keyhole halter. So I would go back to the drawing board and go, okay, I need to do a keyhole halter. What is that going to look like? How is that going to fit into the assortment? And then this pant was sold really well for me in other groups. So they said, we want you to repeat that pant. So this is the reality that happens as a designer, is that you are constantly changing things around, and you learn to never get really committed to anything too much, because I mean, you can have utter disappointments. There are moments that I've had in my career that were really disappointing. Like I really wanted something to work out, but mostly I was kind of unaffected. I don't get emotionally tied to this because this is a business. This is commerce, that there are a lot of factors that have nothing to do with my design talents, right? So it's a balance. Being in fashion is a balance between art and commerce. So you'll notice that this has all this shearing. It looks nice with this bottom. So that's how that kind of tied in together. It also ties in with like this little bit of shearing here. But these are kind of flat and, you know, they don't have any shearing. So that certainly detail didn't carry over. But as a collection, it still looks all sort of, I guess, feminine. And saleable. So saleable is we put this out, all three of us, thinking that this is what the consumers were ready for at the time or would want at the time. So the other thing I'm going to share is, and I know I've shared this before, but oh, hang on, that's not it. Is what I had done last year for my fall design students. This was my mood board that I did along with our students. So mine, I gave it a name, Undulations, and you can see that it has all those undulating wavy edges. And then what I'm asking you to do now is this. So I have given you both the 5-figure template. So out of your entire collection, hopefully you have time between now and next week to pick your 5 favorite looks. So you've designed about, I think, 8 to 10 croquis. So out of those 8 to 10, you're going to send 5 down the runway. This is kind of like a runway shot of 5 models. One has a back view in case you have something that has an interesting back. So that gives you an opportunity to show that. So in your 5 favorite looks, maybe you want to consider silhouette and a variety of balance, of proportions, like how things cut across the body. That's always in consideration in a bigger picture scheme like this when we're looking at several things at once. Hang on a second. So much talking, my throat dries out. Okay. So this is fall winter, which is why they're wearing scarves and hats and boots. But the collection we're working on now is spring summer. So hopefully the feeling will be lighter, brighter. You can still think about adding some accessories, some shoes. We've talked about that a little bit. So in your 5 final looks, you can decide whether you need to add anything to make it feel like a spring summer collection or just to make it feel like it ties together. You'll notice on your page, I don't think I opened it, of the 5 figures, the girl over here has kind of an open hand. So you can easily add a purse, a bag, or even a garment into her hand that could be like a jacket could be hanging kind of here. So that gives you an opportunity to just add one more piece in your sketch. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I didn't get a chance last week, I couldn't find my color wheel. This is just an additional thing to talk about. It's not necessarily going to have any influence on your collections right now because we are your color story is already figured out, but it's just something that I want to go over going forward, how color works, and meaning that there are certain color, let's say, combinations that we as humans find to be pleasant. And whoever created this color wheel realized that we like opposites. We have, how do I say that? We find the opposites on the color wheel to be complementary to each other. So here we have what we call a color wheel. It is the Roy G. Biv red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, put together in a continuous wheel where each color kind of turns into the next one. The primaries are red, yellow, and blue, meaning no other colors can make those colors. All colors start from red, yellow, and blue. So those are called the primary hues. So the colors in between the primaries are when you mix the primaries together. So between red and yellow, we get orange. So that's how we get orange. If you add a little more red, you have red orange. If you add a little more yellow, you have yellow orange. So this is how we get those gradations of hues in between the primaries. So over here we have yellow goes into yellow green because yellow and blue make green. Blue and red make violet. And then we get those in between colors here as well. And I like this color wheel. I stole this off the internet because they gave their name, their colors, their colors that they blended here, names, which are kind of fun: Gold Rush, Nectarine, Saffron, Canary, Lemon. So this is kind of a fun one. I'm sure you can Google this and find this, or if I remember, I will send it to you because it has all these, oh, whoops, and I moved it, all these cool color names on it. The color wheel that I actually have and own is this one. So this is one you can buy at an art store. It actually has, it spins in the back and it can show you little colors through a window. So if you're trying to get a certain color, it tells you what to do. Like if you're mixing paint, it tells you how to get that color. So you might find this very helpful to grab one of these next time you're at an art store. Once you start using markers and paint and working with color a lot, it's an added bit of control to know how to get the color that you want instead of just it happened randomly. So it's just digging in a little deeper to color theory and how colors work. And then of course you can see the gray scale, the value scale here from light to dark also influences how light or dark that color is. So just a little introduction there about color. I am going to stop here. I will go find my my pictures of the final iteration of those two deliveries, the Zen one and the Regatta one, for you to just to see like how it actually ended up, because it wasn't what was on my CAD or my mood board as part of the process. So that's a quick review about editing. Riley, I know you've been busy person, and I have not received. Oh, you did. You just sent me sketches. Forgive me. You did. I got them. I saved them and I just forgot to open them. So actually, let me open them here. Hang on a second. I did do that. I just don't think I downloaded it. I think let me look at my downloads. I can't remember if I downloaded it or not. I do remember seeing it though. Quit sort by date modified it. Nope, I didn't download it. That's why I didn't remember. Okay. Let me go do that real quick. So I did get that from you. Here they are. Naughty. Let me do that. 1, 2, 3. We'll take a quick look at these. Here they are. Ta-da. Okay. So is this the one that you said that you originally had, but then you just redid something?
There's one that I redid. Well, I didn't really redo it, but it was this one. Because the bottom is supposed to be corduroy and we hadn't gone over how to illustrate that yet. So I went back and made it look more like corduroy.
Got it. But yeah, like this, the bottom of the skirt, right?
Yeah.
The red one. Okay. Yeah. It definitely looks ribbed or something. All right.
And then the other two were new.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at this real quick. A good addition of darts. That tells me it's a woven. They're both wovens. Love it. Okay. And I know how they get in. There are buttons going down the front. So, okay. So quick talk about buttons. Your buttons actually go in the center line and the edge of your garment actually pushes over. So it looks correct on your garment, but it looks like your buttons are on the left on your flat. Not a big deal. You don't need to redo it. I'm just pointing that out for future.
Okay, good to know.
Yep. Here you have your buttons on center. Yeah. You're right on the pants, your buttons do go up. So that is the catch, is on pants, they do push over. That's because our center seam comes up from the crotch. So they do have to push over if they're on pants. And I guess
I
it does,
remember, I
that does make
remember that confused
sense.
me.
What's that?
I remember that confused me when I was drawing it. I couldn't figure out what it, but I can't remember what I ended up deciding because it was like a week ago.
It makes sense that you, since you're showing them together, that you would want them to line up. So maybe this is a case where you just, you break protocol. That's, designers do that too. So I'm just pointing out like how garments are typically constructed. So you are correct in saying that with a pant, your center seam comes up the bottom, which is the natural edge, and then the buttons have to go off center from that. But usually with blouses, just they're usually on center, which is actually how you've drawn it. This is an awareness thing. Okay, you probably should add a line on your center of your pant here, just to show that seam does go to the crotch,
Okay.
that it connects through there. I would add that.
Okay.
And this looks fantastic. You are really getting good at rendering and showing the shadows and understanding where cast shadows happen. So well done on that.
Cool.
I like this back. I had a back like this in the 80s, the top that did this little thing. I love that with a single button. Cute. And very structured shorts. Yeah, look at all these pleats and belt loops. Well done. Okay. And I love the little flowers, your color stories. It's nicely supported. Yeah. Okay. So let me, oh, oh my gosh, I just realized I'm looking at your garments. I wasn't even sharing them.
No
Forgive me.
worries.
Oh my gosh, the whole time I'm just, okay. Just so eventually you can, if you see the video, you can see the garments that I'm looking at. You have them, but if Ava watches this, she'll wonder what we're talking about. So there, Ava, that's for you. Little preview of what Riley's up to. Okay, sorry, I wasn't driving well there. Okay. All right. I'm not sure. Well, you've obviously done more sketches. So the question is, do you have 5 favorites that you know already right now that you want to illustrate all together? Or do you want, are you gonna do a little bit of editing and changing, and where are you at?
I may change a little bit as I put them into the final sketch, but I think I do have my 5.
Okay. So let me suggest to you, as you are planning these out on the 5 figures, the things to think about. One, I would start with, do I have something that I want to create with a back view so that you can like get the back view figured out? And then as they're coming across the page, also think about how they're being presented as a collection. And I am only saying this because, and I'll show you mine again, and I'll show you why I'm saying this. Let me find it real quick. There. So the figure in the middle seemed to have the most room around the bottom, or this figure on the side. And that's why I chose this figure for the big jacket, because I wanted to illustrate it in a place where I had enough room to illustrate it. So I'm literally also thinking about how the shapes are fitting onto the page and what would best show off the shapes that I've created with the silhouettes. So it's just part of the consideration. So so that you can kind of plan it to look nice together also on the page. So that's why I chose to put the little crop jacket over here and this circular jacket kind of in the back, because I felt like they were like little bookends for this big long piece. And then the bottom of this pant kind of balanced out the width of this jacket. So I don't know. whether it's successful or not, that's what I was thinking about. So that's something that you both can think about as you're putting things on the page. So the list of sketching would be do it in pencil, plan it out in pencil so you can change your mind. Make sure that you have any layers like figured out. So if you have a top and bottom, do you need to add a sweater? Do you need to have it in their hand like they just took it off and they're dragging it down the runway as part of your group? And once you've got it exactly how you want it, then you go over this. I'm just reviewing. You go over in the light, the small ink pen, the micron pen. Wait for your pen to dry. Erase with your kneaded eraser. I tend to go in one direction because erasing can really crumple the page. And so I really hold it tight and erase away from my hand. The next step, I usually add the gray marker to the close. That's just my personal workflow. That's how I do it. My students yesterday really wanted to put the skin tone on first. That's fine. So I usually do gray marker, then skin tone, and I always do the clothing colors last, but that part doesn't matter. You can add the gray marker into the clothing last also. I like to add it first. And then all the fine detail at the end. So if you need to add, like I have a student who's rendering lace. So she has to, do all that tiny little detail work. That's the last thing you want to do. So anything where you want to add little bits of reflection with your gel pen to get that light showing that something shiny. Yep, I think that's about it. So that's kind of like the workflow for finishing this page. Okay, I'm gonna let you work. Do you have any questions for me before I go searching? No.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to go find that picture for you and I will interrupt in a moment here when I find it. Well, Riley, I have searched all over my computer. I don't know where that file is, but I know it exists because I have the piece of paper here. So we're going to do this the old fashioned way. There's my board that I showed you before in the computer, which had the lace ups on it. And I found actually one of the original CADs. So none of this survived. Nothing. I don't think there's anything on here that actually made it into the collection, but this is where it started. This is my original concept, and color story based on that mood board. And then this is what I did show you, where they switched my detail from my other board to that. This stayed the same, but this is at least one page of what actually went to the stores, because this is what we call the web shot, the model standing very plainly showing the features of the garment. So it's a little fuzzy, of course, on your screen, but that detail did stay in this blue group, but that did come from my other board. Here's that textured fabric, that Hunza. It did maintain that coral color so that both the turquoise and that coral still worked back. The print survived in a one piece, and I'm sure there was a top for that. So the stripe did survive, this garment did survive, but it just didn't, I don't know where the picture is anyway. So that's the thing, like for every group I had at least 10 of these, at least 10 versions from my original concept to the time that actually went to be made into a garment. There were at least 10 iterations. So just a preview of the entire process as it plays out in the fashion industry. So
That's really interesting.
yeah, and no one knows that, right? No,
Yeah.
the average Joe has no clue how your clothes are made or how many people are involved. And the added layer is this was an in-house brand. This was a brand that my company decided to launch and make on their own. All the other brands that I had done in my career were other brands, right? It was Lucky Brand Jeans, it was Betsy Johnson. So that's an added layer of people who have opinions who also change your garments. So you would do a presentation to them and then they would all weigh in with all of their opinions. And so that's an extra moment of back to the table, back to the drawing board, change to also address whatever issues they have. And their issues could be, based on their stores. So when I worked for BB, BB was all little, they had hundreds and hundreds of stores in malls. And so they were very specific about what they were delivering at that time. And they always wanted it to merchandise into their big assortment. So when the swim came on the floor, they wanted it to go together, which is incredibly hard because I worked a year ahead and they worked 6 months ahead. So I was always driving, kind of influencing their choices to some degree because they wanted that as a goal. And so that's incredibly difficult when you have different companies, which many brands do. They have a shoe company and a sunglasses company and a handbag company, and to try to get them all to deliver product, especially if you have your own store, to your store at the same time is an incredible feat of logistics. So
That's nuts.
it's a little nutsy. Yeah. So how's it going with your process?
Good. I figured out the order that I'm going to put things in and I'm working on sketching them now.
Okay, so I can't wait to see your 5 favorites, but I will wait. I will wait until next week. And all right, well, I actually don't see any point on recording watching you guys work because I'm sure you don't watch that anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to end here. I know as we get through the design semester that it's a little less from me because now it's on you to create. So it's a little boring, to watch a video of that. But hopefully on your end, there's a lot more activity going. So
Yeah.
on the foundation that I've given you. All right. So I'm going to let you go here. I'm going to end the video and I will see you next week for your presentation. And hopefully Ava will be here too.
Well, I'll be seeing you for the next class too.
Well, yes, of course. Yes, you, I will see for the next class.
Yeah.
For the both of you, I will see next week with your presentations. So mood board, croquis, 5 figures.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
See you later.
Bye.